A History of Royal Incest and Inbreeding. Part 2. The Royal Houses of Europe. In the royal families of Europe, sibling marriages were considered abhorrent. However, unions between cousins were incredibly common. The houses of Habsburg, Hohenzollern, Savoy, Hanover, and Bourbon often intermarried. The church had rules about degrees of consanguinity, or how closely related people could be and be allowed to marry. But papal dispensations were often granted, and the health of offspring was thrown out the window in favor of cementing treaties and making advantageous political matches. Royal parents were obsessed with making sure their children married the best titles they could get, regardless of the actual person involved. And there just weren't that many royals on the marriage market to go around. Juana of Castile was the result of a marriage between second cousins Ferdinand II of Aragon and Isabel I of Castile. After inheriting the thrones of both kingdoms and uniting much of Spain, Juana suffered a mental breakdown. She became known to history as Juana the Mad. She married Philip I, son of the Holy Roman Emperor, who was a member of the highly inbred House of Habsburg. Juana was desperately in love with her husband, while he was habitually unfaithful. Philip's philandering inflamed his wife's delicate mental condition. When she caught her husband with a lover, she stabbed the woman in the face. Philip died suddenly at the age of 28, and Juana refused to let anyone take his body away. She slept next to her husband's corpse every night. Their 6 children went on to marry into many royal families and carry their mother's unfortunate genetic lineage with them. The Habsburgs were one of the most influential royal families in Europe. They occupied the throne of the Holy Roman Empire from 1438 to 1740. Members of the family have been kings and emperors of Bohemia, Hungary, Croatia, Portugal, Spain, and ruled principalities in the Netherlands and Italy. The family was also particularly notorious for inbreeding, a condition called mandibular prognathism, where the lower jaw protrudes, often causing the upper and lower teeth to misalign, became known as the Habsburg jaw. Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor and one of the children of Juana the Mad, was noted for his pronounced Habsburg jaw. He also suffered from epilepsy. His son, King Philip II of Spain, married 4 times, and all 4 of his wives were relatives. First wife, Maria Manuela of Portugal, shared all 4 grandparents with her husband, including Juana and Philip I of Castile. Maria died at 17 following the birth of their son Carlos. He suffered multiple health problems and was mentally unstable and violent. His father was forced to imprison him, and he died in confinement at the age of 23. Philip's second wife was his cousin, Queen Mary I of England, who died after 3 years of marriage. Wife number 3 was third cousin Elizabeth of Valois. The couple were married for 9 years and had 2 daughters before she died in childbirth. Philip's 4th and final wife was his niece, Anna of Austria. The couple had 5 children, though only one of them survived childhood. King Charles II of Spain is the most famously tragic result of inbreeding among the Habsburgs. His parents, Philip IV of Spain and Mariana of Austria, were uncle and niece. All 4 of his grandparents were descendants of Juana the Mad. Charles did not learn to talk until the age of 4 or walk until 8. His Habsburg jaw was so severe that he was unable to chew his food or speak properly, and he drooled constantly. He suffered from multiple physical, intellectual, and emotional problems and could barely read or write. He became known as Charles the Hexed. He was described as short, lame, epileptic, senile, and completely bald before 35, always on the verge of death but repeatedly baffling Christendom by continuing to live. Charles was married twice but was impotent and had no children. He died at 38. The doctor who performed his autopsy stated that his body did not contain a single drop of blood. His heart was the size of a peppercorn, his lungs corroded, his intestines rotten and gangrenous. He had a single testicle, black as coal, and his head was full of water. One author wrote of Charles, "He died of poison 200 years before he was born. If birth is the beginning, his beginning was his end. From the day of his birth, they were waiting for him to die." As Charles was the last of the male line of the Spanish Habsburgs, his death led to the War of Spanish Succession. Charles's sister, Margaret Theresa, got off a bit lighter in the genetic lottery. She was noted to be bright and lively. She was, however, hexed in marriage. Yet another alliance was needed between the Spanish and Austrian branches of the Habsburg family, so at 15 she married her uncle and cousin, Leopold I. Her husband insisted that she call him uncle. Maria Theresa suffered at least 2 miscarriages and gave birth to 4 children, though only 1 survived infancy. She blamed the deaths of her children on the Jewish people and begged her husband to expel them from Vienna. He obliged, destroying the Vienna synagogue and building a church in its place. She died while pregnant with their 5th child at the age of 21. Marie Antoinette, Queen Consort of France, was also a member of the Habsburg family and was said to have had a mild case of Habsburg jaw, which caused her lower lip to protrude slightly, giving her a constant pout. George III of the United Kingdom, ruler during the American Revolution, was a member of the House of Hanover and had plenty of looped branches in his family tree. He suffered debilitating madness for many years and left the rule of the nation to his son, the Prince Regent. The genetic disorder porphyria has long been blamed for his condition. However, this has recently been put into doubt. Whatever the cause of George's madness, his shallow gene pool didn't help. His granddaughter, Queen Victoria, married her first cousin, Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. When arranging marriages for their 9 children, Victoria and Albert wanted the best, and they discussed European princes and princesses as though they were breeding racehorses. But their concerns about height and hair color glossed over the serious genetic problems in their own and other royal houses. Their youngest son, Leopold, suffered from hemophilia, a condition which impairs the body's ability to make blood clots, a process needed to stop bleeding. He died at 30. This might not have sounded alarm bells, as the genetic cause of the disease was not yet understood. Doctors incorrectly blamed Leopold's ill health on his mother's use of chloroform during his delivery. But later on, the full ramifications of their inbreeding would be known. Hemophilia came to be known as the royal disease. 2 of their daughters, Alice and Beatrice, were carriers of the gene. Alice had a son who died from the affliction at the age of 2. Her daughter, Alexandra, married Tsar Nicholas II and became Empress of Russia. Their only son's hemophilia and her subsequent dependence on mystic Rasputin, who claimed to be healing the boy, weakened the royal family and contributed to the fall of the Romanov dynasty. Alexandra, Nicholas, and their 5 children were gunned down by Bolsheviks in a basement during the Russian Revolution. Beatrice's daughter, Victoria Eugenie, married King Alfonso XIII of Spain. When their eldest son was circumcised, the baby bled excessively and it was clear that he had hemophilia. Alfonso never forgave his wife and their marriage was ruined. They had 7 children, 2 of whom suffered the blood disorder. Alfonso died at 31 and Gonzalo at 19. Both bled to death after car crashes. Following World War I, people across Europe rose up against the families that had kept them under thumb for centuries, and many of the monarchies were abolished. Today, only 10 hereditary monarchies still exist in Europe: Belgium, Denmark, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Monaco, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Sweden, and the UK. I'll profile all of these modern monarchs in an upcoming video. Many of these monarchs are related to each other, and 5 are descendants of Queen Victoria. In the 1920s, King George V of the UK decreed that his children were no longer required to marry other royals, but old habits die hard. Queen Elizabeth II of the UK and her husband Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, are second cousins through Christian IX of Denmark, and also third cousins as they are both great-great-grandchildren of Queen Victoria. With modern understanding of genetics and a populace that no longer sees royalty as near divine, more open-minded young royals are looking outside the family for marriage partners. In 2010, Crown Princess Victoria, heir to the throne of Sweden, married her personal trainer, Daniel Westling. Albert II, Prince of Monaco, married South African Olympic swimmer Charlene Whitstock. Prince William of the UK married university friend Kate Middleton, and his brother Prince Harry married multiracial American actress Meghan Markle, all leading to a brighter future for the royal families of Europe. A very special thank you goes to my patron, Svenja. Thank you so much for supporting my work. If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting me on Patreon and help me make more fascinating videos. A link to my Patreon is in the description. Thank you for watching.